You're listening to the Yin and Yang Show, a marketing and sales conversation providing strategic and tactical advice about inbound sales and marketing. And now, here are your hosts, Lindsay Kelly and Brian Signorelli.
Well, hello there. Welcome. Thanks for joining us again this week on the Yin and Yang Show. Always love having a conversation with you guys about inbound sales and marketing. I'm Lindsay Kelly. I am the marketing person from Prospect Builder who is always blabbing about marketing, joined by my buddy from HubSpot, Brian Signorelli.
Hey, Lindsay.
Hi. How you doing?
I'm excited. I'm feeling really good. I'm jazzed up to talk today about buyer personas.
We are going to talk buyer personas.
So near and dear to my heart for the last, it's been almost actually more than the last half decade.
Really?
I think I've known about buyer personas for going on 6 years now.
Nice. How do you feel about buyer personas?
I love them. I can't live without them.
Yeah, I don't think any of us in this world really can. It was great though when we got on, just for all the listeners, we're usually way more organized than this, but I had decided we were going to do this yesterday. I forgot to tell Brian, it's a little minor detail of what we're going to talk about today. So he gets into the peer room and he's like, what are we talking about today? And I was like, it's buyer personas. Pretty much anything I throw at you, you're going to have answers for anyway. So I don't know why you're worried.
Well, I'm not worried. This is what I've kind of, sometimes I've, had to do a lot more with a lot less, Sometimes, as a manager, I have to jump onto calls. Like, I don't really get any context. I'm listening in, I'm trying to kind of pick things up as I go. I'm using like Slack to kind of say like, all right, so like, where do you want me to jump in here? Well, what's helpful? What's that saying that necessity is the mother of invention?
Is that the saying?
I think that's a saying. They say a lot, but
they say many things.
Don't they?
Many things. Like I printed out the HubSpot certification transcript for buyer personas. Do you like that? And I have highlights.
That's great.
I have highlights. And I looked at this and I was like, I just printed out this gigantic document and there's a couple things that I want to touch on, but I want to completely contort this to fit my industry, office technology industry. So I literally you'll see me after I get done this part, I'm just going to be funny and throw this over my head. All what is this? 8 pages? Mm-hmm. 8 pages are going to just go flying back there and probably hit my piano. But I wanted to talk about this today because I'm doing an onboarding for a rather large client and I'm talking a mile a minute with them because there's so much to get in. And we started touching on buyer personas, and I thought, I need to spend way more time on this. So this is kind of my way of also helping to train my new client. Go listen to the podcast. And I did that too with keywords. I recorded it. Okay, this is how we're going to do the keywords. I already imported. I think I have 2 left because you can only put 1,000 in. So I think I had 2 left. I said, so let's go in. Now we've imported it all. Now let's export it. We're going to sort it. So I literally walked through this whole video and sent it to him. And he's probably like, this chick is crazy. Does she think I have nothing else to do but watch her videos and listen to her talk?
Could just be really thorough.
I am very thorough. And I've decided I'm going to start recording more and more because I used to record it for my team when I was training them and I don't have to do that anymore. Yep. But now it's now it's coming back around full circle and I'm training all these copier dealers and managed IT service folks how to use HubSpot and the methodologies. And I'm realizing I am turning a fire hose on these people. And then afterwards, they're reeling, and I should be recording all of my meetings with them too. That would probably, and sending them to them.
Yeah, that's what our CEO says to every new hire, or did at a point in time. So in my first or second week of training, I ran into Brian Halligan in the kitchen, and I think I said something stupid like, "Hey, Brian, I'm Brian." Right.
Great opening line.
Yeah, and he said something like, how's training going? I said, oh, it's good, just a lot. And he goes, yeah, it's like drinking out of a fire hose, isn't it? Like, yeah, it's pretty much right. Just getting a couple drops here and there and hoping it, just kind of soaks in over time. But it's a lot. It is a lot. But why I really love buyer personas is that I kind of liken it to, I don't know, it's like if inbound marketing were like a Monopoly game board or something like that, you basically cannot start doing inbound marketing. Like you cannot pass go until you have your buyer personas. And it's actually not just on the marketing side. Like I would go so far as say on the sales side, having worked in sales for the last 5 years, like if you don't know your buyer personas, you're not ready to sell either. So regardless of whether or not you're working in sales or marketing, you have to understand buyer personas because they literally drive everything that you do. In my opinion, they're
the cornerstone for everything that you do. And so a couple of us have the analogy of, you have to build the foundation before you can build the house. And so I won't use that one because we use that way too much. So I was like, you know what? If inbound were a plant, the personas are the roots.
Ooh, okay.
You like that?
I can roll with that.
It's true because that's what really, that gives you your foundation. That's what makes you stable in this unstable environment that you guys are coming across now. And so what I want to cover today is, what really buyer personas are and really give them the tactical what to do. And this is exactly how I do it. Everybody does it differently. Yeah. I think there's a common theme and thread for how people do this. And I'm in a cohort with a bunch of other agencies, and we talk. And so I get to ask this, the leader of the group, all these questions. And the way that they do personas is very different from us. So like, how do you find time to do that? I'm like, it's so important. We have to do it. And like, we basically get it this way. So they do almost the same thing, but in a different way. So I'm like, it takes you just as much time as it takes me. But basically your personas are the people who you're actually making this content for. Okay. They're the foundation of everything that it is that you want to do. Like I have 2 more highlights and then I'm throwing this piece of paper. And they're a semi-fictitious representation. So it's like a fictitious character, but it's only semi-fictitious because what you're doing is you're building something. And to put it into context, when I first started looking at HubSpot, I really felt like, and I was in a dealership at the time. I was in a dealership in Baltimore, CDA dealer, and I'm reading all this stuff and I'm like, God, they're talking to me. This is exactly what I'm going through. This is what we as an organization are going through. We have to figure this out. And literally, like when I finally came on board with you and you shared Marketing Mary with me, I'm like, oh, that's me. It is. It's so me. I was Marketing Mary. I was a little, Marketing Mary was a little older than I was at the time, and she had 1.5 more children than I had. However, everything else, she had 2.5 kids. I'm like, how do you have 0.5? But everything else was, on the money. That my day-to-day challenges, how I functioned. I was, a mom, running here and there. And today I'm even more Marketing Mary, for the love of God. Now I'm almost as old as she is. She hasn't aged. I have. And I'm running all over the place even more now. I'm a soccer mom. Literally, we have 2 soccer practices tonight. I've never ever thought I would be a soccer mom. I was a theater person, and now everything is stinky and sweaty and smelly. And
that's we built Marketing Mary. We knew your future before you did.
Exactly, isn't that funny? So that's what we need to do within the office technology space. When we're looking at all the people that we're selling to. So we call it in our world a buyer persona. You might call it your ideal target or something like that. Everybody might have a different name. But at the root of it, you're basically talking about the people you're selling to, And everybody's selling to different people at different stages of the buying cycle. So you're either selling it at the C level or maybe you're coming in at the IT level or whatever it is. You have to have buyer personas because they're going to have different things that they want to talk about, different needs, different challenges. So that's kind of at its core, what it is. And I'm sorry, but HubSpot attracted me to them because you understood what it was that I was going through. So, and with that,
there it goes.
There they went. So now this is all off the cuff, and this is me just talking at you.
This is Lindsay Kelly unplugged.
Lindsay Kelly unplugged. So because I'm sure you probably don't have to do interviews anymore, buyer persona interviews. You have your personas.
It's actually interesting. HubSpot's been in business for 10 years now, and we actually just went through a complete overhaul of our personas.
As you well should.
Yeah, I'm not saying it takes. I'm not saying you should do it once every decade. probably more frequent than that, but it's certainly something that you should be looking at and refreshing and rethinking over time, because, surprise, surprise, people change, business changes, industries change. So you got to make sure that everything you're doing is relevant. And I think the way that you explained, the concept of a buyer persona, Lindsay, of being a semi-fictitious representation of, who you're selling to is a really, really good explanation. And I think just to build on that, it's so important because, unless you've missed the first 7 or 8 episodes we did on inbound marketing, inbound marketing is rooted on developing content that is attracting people to you. And the way they find that content is basically looking for answers to the questions that they're asking. And so the way I always think about, content creation and buyer personas, everything else is, if you don't understand who the people that you're selling to are, what keeps them up at night, how they're measured, against their success at work. Ideally, if you can kind of get into their head and even go further and think about what is their personal life like and how does it impact their professional life, and what are their goals? Again, what are their challenges? What are things that keep them up at night? And the more detailed you can be, the more that's going to inform the type of content you're creating, because writing blog posts and building landing pages and publishing to social media without a purpose has no meaning whatsoever.
Nope.
Right? But all of that content is designed to literally be answering the questions that your best prospects, meaning your buyer personas, are asking. Then you're just naturally increasing the chances that the people who you want to find you will actually find you. It's not a guarantee, but it's a starting point.
Exactly. You're attracting the folks that I always tell my folks when I ask for people to talk to, and we'll get to that in a minute, but I say, picture your favorite client who is also extremely profitable for you. Mm-hmm. Who is that person? Mm-hmm. That's the first person I want to talk to. Mm-hmm. I want people like that who you absolutely love working with, who they value your opinion, they trust you. Every time they have a question about, the printer that can't see it on the network or whatever, they know they can pick up the phone and call you. Mm-hmm. They know that if you recommend at the end of the 5-year lease of the fleet of copiers that they have that, I recommend this, this, and this, they're just going to trust you because you've built up that credibility with them. You've built up that trust. And these folks love you. I mean, they make your life so easy now. I want to know who those people are. I want to talk to those people so mm-hmm. I can create a persona that helps us attract more people like that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because there's then the flip side. Now, think of the person that you're like, oh, dear Lord, I just wish this client would go away. And they exist. They do. That's called a negative buyer persona. So you can also create negative buyer personas mm-hmm. so that you know who to stay away from.
Yeah, I remember. Is that the official name for it now? Because I remember at one point it was called the anti-persona. Oh,
the anti. That just sounds evil.
I know it does sound evil, but it kind of is an evil person in a way, because they're literally a bad fit for whatever your products and services might be.
Yes,
you can actually use that information to kind of, even though they don't know it, you can use that information to kind of move them out of your marketing and sales pipeline.
Yes.
Again, like I said, they may not be aware of that. And of course, you're not going to write back to me and say, oh, sorry, thanks for, subscribing to our blog, but you're actually the anti-persona.
Right.
Don't come back to our site anymore. Despite the fact that there are people who I've talked to over the years that I wish would never come back to our website and who I wish, would stop downloading content because quite frankly, they're just not the best people, I just haven't had the best
Not experience. The best fit.
They might actually be great people, but
right.
they just didn't jive with me for whatever reason. I'm sure that plenty of people feel that way about me too. Who knows?
So,
right?
Well, I won't tell you who, but no, I'm kidding.
So one thing I was thinking, Lindsay, because you've done so much of this for clients, one thing I think might be helpful for our listeners is just getting a sense of where to start. So if you've never done buyer personas before, you mentioned earlier in the podcast that there are a bunch of different ways to do this, a bunch of ways to build personas. You talked about interviewing the best, most profitable customer, what they care about, what they do, how they came to find the business, things like that. So interviewing people is one way. It sounds like there's a bunch of other ways. So if you were advising me, for example, right, and you said, all right, Brian, you're just getting a business started, and you're going to be doing, if I want to start my own sales consulting business, right, or sales coaching business, what are some of the very early or very initial steps that you might go through to help me build out some buyer personas? Like, what would we do together if I were your client?
Okay. So if you were my client, I would say, oh crap, I attracted the wrong persona because I don't sell to anybody but office technology people. But and I can't actually help you because I'm working with people who've been in business for like 40, 50 more years.
Yeah.
So they already have a clientele built up.
Right.
So I have resources at my disposal that you're not going to have as a new person. So keep that in mind. If you are a brand new dealership, there would be a different way. But for today, I'm going to go with 99.9% of the people.
All right. That's fair.
So pretend you're a copier dealer owner.
Perfect.
And actually, you might even be a copier dealer owner's son, because that's something that came out that we've identified. I think I talked about that last time. I know I talked about it with my client yesterday. But, we started out with dealer principal Dave, and, he's, probably late 50s, early 60s, running the business forever. And he was our target persona. And then we started realizing our best customers and the ones who really understand what we're doing I call him Sonny the Son. Nice. So the dealer principal's children, because they're being groomed to take over. So anyway, all kinds of things can come out of this type of research, guys. Just keep that in mind. But from a client perspective, I'll walk you through yesterday with my client. Basically, I said, okay, who are you going to pick for your top 3 personas? Please don't start out with 50 personas, because yes, you probably have 50 people you could identify as personas, but who are the big 3? Who are the ones that you find that you're going to over and over again? And in most cases, it's the small business owner, the CFO, and the managed IT service, or the IT director. Blah, blah, strike that, reverse it. So in a nutshell, we say, okay, you're going to start with 1. Pick 1 persona. Okay, great. Now, in the meantime,
why 1?
Why 1? Because we're starting with folks who this is so new for them. They need a blueprint so that they can understand what this looks like and how they can replicate it. Yep. So we have them build out all of their personas. So as an internal team, we give them the buyer persona worksheet, and it's available on prospectbuilder.net. You can grab the buyer persona worksheet. I'll make sure I put the link in the show notes. But basically, it's a great little worksheet that kind of walks you through, tell us what the challenges are, tell us how old they are. Look, I have one right here. Hold on. What else do you ask? Here we go. Yeah, goals, challenges, what can we do to help alleviate their pain? We have real quotes. We have common objections. We have marketing messaging, elevator pitch. I'm done with that one. So it's just too much fun. I threw another one.
It's great. I need something to throw. I guess I got this notepad here.
No, don't throw it.
I'm gonna break something in the kitchen here.
No, not in the kitchen. Kitchen's bad idea. So they fill that out as a team. So this particular organization is quite large, many branches. They divided it out amongst all their VPs of sales, and everybody worked on a different persona and brought the sales team together, and they did this exercise. And so they came back with some really great information. And I said, awesome. So you guys are set from just kind of having that buyer persona idea in your head of who your top 3 are. Now we'll get deeper, because we have clients now who we've expanded out to Healthcare Helena, Legal Lydia. So, we can get vertical. But when you start, you want to make sure that you're starting with, something that everybody can kind of relate to in the organization. So
one thing you said that was really interesting, I just wanted to point this out, Lindsay, because I think that, again, if I'm thinking back and I'm putting myself into I've never heard of the buyer persona, I've never done this before, or I've tried it, but I just don't really understand it. You said something really important there. And you said that, you have the team do this. Could you elaborate on, because I think one of the most important things, it's not just about, from my experience at least, and I'd be interested to hear, what your opinion is on this. It's not just enough to build buyer persona. It's then, figuring out how do we get organizational buy-in that this is the right persona. And so when you say team, which people in a business are typically involved in building out this persona? I mean, obviously you're the captain of the ship, you're shepherding this process, right, with your clients. So when you advise a client, right, again, if I'm the son of a copier dealer owner, or, you know, I'm a, you know, copier dealer owner, you know, 40, top 40 under 40, right? I can't even speak, but you get the point. You get the idea. So definitely not top 40 under 40, but we'll run with it either way. You know, who on my team are you going to advise? Say, okay, well, I've got the sales team, I've got the marketing team, I've got people from customer service, I've got support, I've got account management. Like, where do you draw the line? How do you kind of figure out how many people, which ones, which functions? Like, what does that kind of process look like?
I let the client do it. I guide them. So I say, basically, who are the people that interact the most with this particular persona? And it's usually sales.
Yeah.
There usually is not a large marketing presence inside of these dealerships. So that's why we work with so many of them hand in hand, because we're kind of the extension of their marketing team, and we help them work. I work more with salespeople that I find now than I work with marketing people. So the sales team decided who, like, they divvied them out. They said, okay, you know, this area, this group, you're going to do this one, you're going to do this one, you're going to do this one. And they did a great job. But I mean, generally I give it to them and I see what I get back. I explain it to them. I talk them through, okay, so a buyer persona is a fictitious, I give them an example, like, this is the final product. This is what it's going to look like. You're going to help me build it, but I need to kind of get an idea as to what your sales reps are hearing in the field. So I always recommend that the reps are the ones that help build this too, though, because sometimes the VPs and the directors are a little farther removed because they haven't been in the field for a while. So, you know, I recommend getting a wider variety of people together in a room to really answer these questions. And most dealer principal owners will know who they should have in the room and who they shouldn't. Yeah. So.
I think the most interesting, all of it was interesting, by the way.
Okay.
But the very most interesting that really caught my attention there was when you said, and it may vary from company to company, right? At a copier dealer, just enunciating here, you know, might be very heavy in sales, and those might be the people that are interacting with customers most. But in other businesses, you know, like I can think of a company like Atlassian. You know, and I think they're in Australia. They don't even have a sales force. They have zero sales force whatsoever, and they're worth like $1 billion or something, right? They do like wiki and like developer tools, and you know, they're a cool company. But you know, they literally don't have salespeople, and you know, but the reality is most businesses are going to have a mix of sales and marketing and support and account management. And I think, you know, that is going to be dependent on whichever business you're in. It may be people in sales. It's likely going to be people in sales who should be involved, but it's likely going to be people in account management or customer service or support or engineering. It could be a wide variety of people. So the idea, I think, is like, you know, to find that Goldilocks mix of participants. You don't want too many. You don't want too few. You want to get that kind of right blend.
Well, and that's what, you know, maybe not next week, because we're going to give you a turn. I've been monopolizing, but talking a little bit through the inbound workshop and what I do and how I mix them up. I'm going to, little spoiler alert for anybody who has a workshop coming up, be prepared. I make them count off at one point, because, you know, they walk in and sales sits with sales, service sits with service, admin sits with admin. I make them count off in sessions.
And you rearrange them?
And I rearrange them.
Yeah, because it's just like a sixth grade or middle school dance where, like, you know, girls on one side, boys on the other. Crazy. It's amazing how we carry those like transference into like a professional, you know, adult, you know, working relationships. It's crazy.
It is crazy.
Existential on this Thursday afternoon.
I know, right? I know it's Thursday afternoon. It's just a little spoiler.
My girlfriend's a therapist, so you know, when I bring words like trans into the conversation, like, you know, that's where it comes from. Just being an open book here about it.
Oh, that's funny. So I wouldn't want to be in your house in the evenings. So let's talk about that.
Tell me more about how you're feeling.
Tell me about how you're feeling
right now.
But that's a good point, because we get a lot. I mean, it's crazy when we do these inbound workshops. I dropped my pencil. I got excited. We get a lot out of service. Service are the guys that go out and fix the machines for the customers, and they're kind of like therapists for the customers, because they're like, this machine, it's, you know, I can't believe that so and so sold it to me, and what do you think I should have? And sometimes that turns into a sale, because you know, in some organizations, I'm not sure how they're all organized, but when I was at a dealership, they were like teamed up. So this salesperson worked with this service tech, and the service tech would pass along leads when they're like, hey, this machine was like falling apart, and they mentioned getting a new one, so you might want to call them. But they always have some really great, in that brainstorming session where I count them off, service usually has some really great stuff. And that's why everybody's like, oh, we can't have service. Service can't show up to this inbound workshop. And I'm like, they're in the field. I'm like, okay, I need 25% of your service team there. Preferably the favorites. Because they're like the ones that everybody writes glowing reviews about, because they're wonderful. Exactly. Oh, Bobby takes such good care of me. And it happens everywhere. I mean, these people have amazing relationships with their customers from a sales and a service perspective. It kind of blows me away. I mean, talk about somebody needs to write a book about how copier dealers service customers and like make like the ultimate guide to how to take care of your customers. That's these guys. Most of the ones that we work with anyway. But anyway, back to how to build a buyer persona. I don't know if service would be the exact right group to work on this, because usually the end user that's working with service is a little different. You're talking about, you know, your admin person, or, you know, so in some instances though, I'm sure that there's, you know, it's a smaller business, so they're into services interacting with everybody, but for the most part, sales is the one that they're the ones that helped me build the beginning of it. So they came back with their 3 buyer personas filled out, and what that does for us, it allows us to put it into HubSpot. So we now have 3 personas built into HubSpot, and we're guiding them on how they'll be building more. And I'm going to take it a step further and build out the buyer persona story. And so how I'm going to build out the buyer persona story is, I said, okay, I need 3 to 5 of those amazing clients that we were talking about, that you really want to duplicate, and you wish you had 50 Bettys. She's the best customer ever. She spends money. She never questions you. She loves you. She talks about you. She refers people to you. I want to talk to Betty. And so I have a format that I send over to whomever is going to be helping me to find these people, whether that's the owner who passes it on to the sales reps, but basically somehow, way, shape, or form, this, you know, custom template that I've already built, it says, hi, Betty, thanks for being a customer. We value you, blah, blah, blah. In an effort to help us educate, you know, folks like you more and more. We're wondering if our marketing consultant could spend 20 minutes just chatting with you about your roles, your challenges. And so I give them like a little script that they can email. And then I'm like, you know, I even put it in there. I'm like, you know, real big, bold, like, insert name of company here. And I can't tell you how many times insert name of company here still goes to the customer. To people.
Exactly,
I've highlighted it now.
That'll happen. I've seen that happen more times than I like to admit.
Right. And everybody does it. It's okay. But still. And then, you know, when the approval happens, I get the name of the customer, the company, some of the services they have, email address, phone number, and then I start with an email. And so then I have my own templated email that I show to the company so they can say, oh yeah, this looks good. And it's basically, I'm like, hi, I'm the marketing consultant. And I always make sure that I get in there like, I'm the consultant, and I basically only work with people in this industry. I'm not going to try to sell you anything. Like, it's basically the undertone of my message, because I don't want them to feel like, you know, maybe if, you know, like I'm trying to come in and talk to their customers and perhaps win some business. Like, no, most of you people are in healthcare, which I wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole from an inbound marketing perspective. It's hard enough to write about HIPAA compliance when it comes to the copiers. Thank God I don't have to actually write that. But that's how we do it. And so then I reach out to them, I schedule it. The one thing that I always tell them is, you know, in my 4.5 years of now doing this, you have to offer them a gift card, because it just kind of sweetens the deal. And I virtually receive no responses back from people who are not offered a gift card. It's weird. It's really weird, but it's true. So it's basically like, we're going to offer you a $50 gift certificate for your time. Thank you so much. And then, these dealers take care of their people. So it's like they get this beautiful little note with a beautiful little gift card. And then, of course, everybody's like, oh, I would have done it without the gift card. I'm like, oh, I know.
Yeah, sure you would have. Yeah. And you're so noble. I know.
So then what happens is it gets to the part where I've scheduled time with this customer, and I'm very mindful. And, as marketers inside of dealerships, you should be mindful of this too. Like, these are prized possessions for your company. These are evangelists. These are people who love you. So I'm very mindful of that. I'm very mindful of their time, and I'm very polite. And I will say this is one of my favorite parts of my job, is to call and talk to these people, because I've had some amazing conversations with these folks. So once I get them on the phone, I explain to them, like, look, and you guys can't do this if you're doing it internally, because it won't be true. But I'm like, I am the marketing consultant. What you and I talk about, I'm not sharing this interview with the client. This is just for you and I. I need to get an idea of your challenges, your role, so I know how to create better content for this copier dealership. And I'm like, if there are any questions that you don't feel comfortable answering, just say, I'd like to skip that one. I'm like, I think I've had almost every question skipped at least once, and I've done well over 100 of these, which is the truth. So it's usually a nice little conversation. I don't record it. I do train customers on it. And so when I do train with another marketing person from the company, I will say I find that the interview is a little stiffer than when it's just the customer and I. It's very interesting. Because a lot of times they're like, we want you to train our marketing person to do this so that they can do it over and over and over and over again. And, and it happens. It works out lovely. But
why do you think that is? Why do you think the conversation's stiffer?
I think because it's like, I don't work for the company, and I'm telling you, I won't share this with anybody in the company. But when I'm training, there's somebody from the company on the call. And so I think they're a little nervous sometimes. Just like, ooh, like, if I can't say what I really think sometimes, because it might actually get back to Bob that I think he's a little pushy sometimes. But like, those are the things I'm like, well, it's okay. I'm not going to tell Bob.
Right.
But if somebody's on the phone that knows Bob, that's a different story. I don't know Bob. And I even tell them, I'm like, I am in Florida. I work out of my house. I'm sorry the sun is shining. It's beautiful today. And you're bundled in a sweater. I literally had to put clothes on because it's too hot to wear clothes. So I'm wearing like a shirt with holes in it. It's fashionable. It's like the 80s Madonna look, right? So my husband, he's like, oh, you're wearing your Madonna shirt again. But what I do is then I get on the phone, and usually it takes me 20 minutes. I haven't had it go less than 15, and the longest has been an hour. But I start out and I'm like, what is your job role? And they give me that. And then I'm like, well, what is your role in life? And then I say, from the perspective of some of the people I've talked to, I said, I've had answers that range everywhere from, I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I live to take care of them and to serve God. I said, and then I've had the other end of the spectrum where it's, I am 75 years old. My goal in life is to get really good at my golf game because I'm about to retire and I got to beat my buddies on the course. So I give them this really wide range so that they feel comfortable answering in just about any. I go from extremely religious, which in the Midwest, I get a lot of very religious, very just devout, amazing people. So sweet. And then on the East Coast, I get people who are like, my goal is life is to make as much money as I can and have a better car than my people next door. Like that. And people I'm like, be honest, man. Like, if that's your goal in life, I need to know that because I'm going to write about luxury cars for your, and I'm going to write about, ethics and being, a wonderful family person if you're in the Midwest, like wherever it is. And so personas are different. People are like, can you just plug and play your personas? You're in the same industry. I'm like, yes, but different people in different parts of the country have different cultures. So anyway, so I have a series of, it's like 20
questions, game of 20 questions,
game
right?
of 20 questions, 26 questions.
Okay.
And the funny thing is I had to add in at one point, I'm not going to ask you.
Yeah, like you're asking them everything. I mean, I know I'm cutting you off, but like interesting that 26 questions, you could liken that to, you know, you're asking them everything from A to Z, and ironically, 26 letters in the alphabet, right? So
exactly.
There you go.
Yep. And ironically,
yeah, it comes back to being thorough, like we talked about.
Yep. Right? And being thorough, but still respectful of their time. So there are quick ones in there too. Right. And I always save the demographics for last because typically the sales reps are able to tell me that information quite easily. But I ask about, you know, their hobbies. I ask, you know, how do you search for vendors? What social networks are you on? What is your overall goal for the company? What is your overall goal for your own career? I mean, I ask all kinds of different questions. I ask, you know, what passions are. You know, how do you keep up with your job? What are some of the things that you read? There are all these questions that you can ask people, you know, and, you know, what is the busiest day of the week for you? And that's a big one because then I know as a marketer, you know, IT, like Mondays are like literally we have one piece that we wrote for a client that's called, you know, Stop the Manic Mondays because every single person we talk to, like Monday is insane. Like we're picking up from the weekend. There are problems over the weekend. We're trying to solve things. And then Fridays are their lightest days, you know? And so it's like we figure out, you know, open rates and all this other stuff based upon send rates or send days based upon what they say at first. And then we look at the data and play with the data too. So anyway, so I do 3 to 5 of these interviews. When I have 3 to 5 of these interviews, it's amazing when you go back and look and see the commonalities that you'll find in here. And it's different across different parts of the country. I've got one group of IT people that were up in Canada, and they literally were like every single IT person was the same age, same number of kids. All of them were divorced, and all of them were huge outdoorsmen. And I'm like, really? And then I asked people in another, I can't remember what area it is, but it was in the US. And it was like, you know, nope, I love the Matrix. I'm a gamer. I like to take computers apart on the weekends. And I'm like, talk about strange. Like you really do find these strange commonalities within some of this. And then I take this and I read it and I digest it. And then I write and then I picture this person in my head. I actually usually get an image and I'll go find a stock photo that is reminiscent of the person that I have in my mind first. And then I write their story. And I literally, and I'll have to pull one up. So if you have any comments here, please do, because this means I have to search for something. But I literally build them a story, like a 2-page PDF story. And I'm going to pull one up real quick. Let's see.
How do you use that, right? I mean, so like from the marketing side, like where do things go from there for you leading marketing? And then I had another question I actually forgot about I forgot what I was going to ask. Oh, yeah, I remember. So how does that then get translated into, you know, like anyone else in the company using it, right? So like people in the field, like, you know, in services or servicing rather, or, you know, anyone selling, like, how do you take that 2-page PDF? I mean, do you go about like handing out the 2-page PDF? Like, all right, everyone read this. Like, this is your 2-page handout. This is who you're selling to and servicing. Is that how it works? Or like, what does the actual implementation and dissemination of information look like? Gotcha.
That's a really good question. The sales team doesn't get this right away, but the sales team is the primary group that gets this. So from a build out perspective, I generally put this into a PDF format. It's got a picture of the guy. So I'm looking right now at persona number 2 for one of my clients. It's IT Tony. His role is he's an IT problem solver. His goals are that he gets no complaints about his hardware or software because no news is good news. And his challenges are technology adoption throughout the organization. So, you know, I get those out, and then I get the demographics out, and then I have 2 pages about his story. You know, Tony keeps the IT infrastructure up and running. He's the go-to guy for anything technology related, blah, 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 blah. Reporting to the COO, he oversees a small team of help desks, blah, 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 blah. He attends webinars, reads IT-related blogs, blah, 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 blah. Tony's days are busy. He can be solving technical hardware challenges. And Tony is not married, but he has 2 children. His passion in life is being a good father. He enjoys travel and is well-rounded in most aspects of his life. He likes the guy's guy and masculine movies. And so it's like it's like now there's a human on the other end of what you're selling and marketing to. Like there's a guy and his name is Tony. Okay. And so for us, you know, we can take that as an inbound marketing team, and we can create a campaign all wrapped around that. Like, what is the goal? What do you want Tony to do? You You want them to get an IT assessment for your managed IT services needs, right? So we build all the elements and we back it all out. Before we roll any of that out, we have a sales-wide go-to webinar, go-to meeting, and we roll out every single piece of content, but we start with Tony. We tell this like, this is Tony. This, and most of the time the guys are like, wow, that really is like, that's the guy I talk to every day. and I've never had anybody go, no, that's totally not who I talk to. But I show them that. And then we also will show them all the different pieces that we've created, and we communicate with the sales team. We tell them, we want people to read this content because it's going to walk them through their journey. It's going to get them from researching stuff online to a lead in your inbox, dropped in your lap. But you also, when you're in your sales process, you can share this content. This isn't just us trying to bring this to you. Here, we're giving you this package. Here are all the landing pages that you can send that will allow your folks to download this. And we explain to them, do not give them the straight up book or ebook or the straight up PDF, because I can't track them then. I'm like, I've got Big Brother spyware stuff here that's going to allow me to go in and see what pages of the website he's looking at, and when he's on your website. And, but you have to get him to click this button here that says, get my ebook. I'm like, because that is my permission button. That is my permission to follow you on the internet. Because that button marries that IP address to that email address. And now if he's ever been on the website before, I can go back and see. So I help them understand the why, because I've been in that position before. Somebody's like, do this. Well, why? Because I told you to. Okay,
well, I can tell you, I mean, from my perspective, I mean, having been a sales rep and being a sales manager, if you think about the buyer's journey into 3 simple phases, right? From awareness, like, am I aware of an issue that I'm having? Consideration, am I giving consideration to whether or not I want to solve this problem or achieve this goal? And then decision, have I decided to commit resources in the form of time, money, or something else to actually solve the problem? As a sales rep or a salesperson, by the time you actually talk to your prospects, they're already at the consideration or decision stage. They've already passed over awareness, okay? So if you don't understand what that context is, who they are, things that they've already researched, things they've already read, if you don't have, I mean, basically, if it's like trying to jump in and watch a movie when, it's tough to be a sales rep. I mean, you got to jump in and watch a movie that you maybe haven't ever seen before. When someone is, an hour and a half into a 2-hour long movie, they're right at the end. You've got that last maybe 20 to 40% of their journey to go through with them. And if you don't understand all those different things they did leading up to the point where they were ready to interact with you, then you just basically have, I mean, you're basically not going to be able to add any value. You're going to have a very difficult time connecting with anybody. You're going to have a very difficult time consulting or advising them towards a close or towards a decision. I won't even say sale. A decision could be a sale or could not be a sale. And I think that's just another perspective, I guess, from the sales side on why these buyer personas are so important and why our awesome colleagues in marketing spend so much time trying to understand who these people are and what they care about and what's going to get them to move from that awareness into the consideration stage. Because if you think about it, I mean, I love the marketing team. I love marketers that are doing this because, in some ways, you're doing 60% of the actual work that it takes to get somebody to the point, through the journey of a sale. And we're just taking them that last, 40 yards or 40% of the way to cross the finish line, whether on the other side of that finish line is a sale or now is not the right time or it's not the right fit or whatever reason. There's no wrong outcome there. It's that you are kind of that shepherd or Sherpa to get that person to that decision point, for better or worse, so to speak.
Yep, we're trying to help be the online Sherpa.
That's right.
To get them to you, but for another day, a conversation shall be how we as marketers work with you as sales in order to understand how you're selling to these guys and what the stages have been in the past so that we can recreate that experience online.
Right.
So But that's for another day, my friend. That's for another day. So I think we are just about out of time.
Okay.
I think our new time period is 30 minutes because neither one of us can keep it to 15 unless we do a solo show, which is just not fun at all. But but yeah, I mean, guys, buyer personas are the foundation of how you're going to reach your target audience. You're crafting the message. You have this idea. You're selling to a human. And at the end of the day, that's really what it's about. It's human-to-human interaction. And this humanizes your whole process, and it lays the foundation for what you need to do to get stuff on your website, whether it's ebooks, blogs, videos, to help them go through this decision-making process by understanding all of their challenges. What do they like? They want to feel like you're speaking to them, just like I felt like HubSpot was speaking to me. So
yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, I can tell you how important this has been for me in a wide variety of ways over the past 5 or 6 years. And if you haven't started building out your own buyer personas, or you haven't kind of known where to start, I think, as I've said before, definitely work with Lindsay on that, because she's an expert and a master on it. So shameless plug for her. And consider putting some roots down. Your buyer personas are your roots. It's going to ground you. So consider putting those roots down. Start with buyer personas, and Lindsay will be your Sherpa. And if you work in sales, maybe I'll be a little bit of a Sherpa for you too along the way, at least through this podcast. And best of luck to you on building those out. It's such a super important part of that journey. It
so is. So guys, I'll make sure that I've got a link in the show notes to the buyer persona worksheet that we have as Prospect Builder, and you can find that. We're in episode 8. This is episode 8, and you can go to yinandyang.fm and go to episode 8, and you'll find the link there. So, but guys, you know what? Until next time, keep the conversation going.
Yeah, keep talking.
You've been listening to the Yin and Yang Show, a marketing and sales conversation with Lindsay Kelly and Brian Signorelli. Join us online at yinandyang.fm. That's www.yinandyang.fm.